Hey guys, welcome back to Universes Beyond. You're back with myself, Yordo. Some more spoilers, insane spoilers from Duskmourn. So I've had to jump on to put together a deck tech for the Jolly Balloon Man. This is a Boros white and red deck. Going to go pretty aggro here, I can't lie. It's a legendary creature, human clown, 1/4 haste. It's got 1 tap it. Create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature in addition to its other colors and types, and it has flying and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. Insane. It's basically Kikijuki. I mean, there's loads of stuff going on here. Lots of things to like. Above all else, this artwork is the creepiest son of a bitch going. I love it. I mean, it's going to go straight in as one of my favorite deck techs out here. So without further ado, what are we going to do? We're going to try and get multiple triggers out of this. So in order to activate it, you obviously have to tap it. So what we're going to be trying to do is get that off multiple times per turn by untapping this creature and then being able to continually make copies of the other creatures that we've got on our battlefield. We want strong enter the battlefield and leave the battlefield triggers because we're going to be sacrificing a creature, but also bringing obviously a creature into play and then sacrificing it. So we want to benefit from both of those. So sacrificing is going to come into play. We want some attack triggers because it's going to be a tap. It's going to be tapped and attacking. So it's basically with that flying, you're going to have an evasive creature essentially. Yes, it's only going to be a 1/1. However, if you have things that give you, like it says here, extra combats, win, win, win. So let's get straight into the deck tech. Before we do so, we are Universes Beyond. Make sure you hit that sub button. We're bringing new content all of the time, and we love to hear from you what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to see next. Let us know in the comment section below. And without further ado, the first card is Village Bellringer. Two colorless and a white, so 3 mana total. It's a 1/4 human scout creature. Has flash. When Village Bellringer enters the battlefield, untap all creatures you control. So with this having flash, you can play this after you've tapped your commander. Well, you don't even need flash. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you can just play this, I guess, if it's your turn. But after you've tapped your commander and made a token copy of something else, you can then untap it. It'll go pretty insane because if you have a way of basically creating infinite mana to pay that 1, you can technically repeat this infinitely. So if you've got an ability where if you're creating a treasure token, for example, and you can obviously pay for your commander's cost of 1 to tap it, and then this is coming into play, untapping all creatures, you can basically go infinite here. So Village Bellringer is absolutely sensational. And yeah, if you pair that with something that's going to create a treasure token, I think you're going to be laughing, really. So off the back of that one, we've got 1,000-Year Elixir. It's a 3 colorless artifact. You may play the activated abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. So this is going to go great with your commander, but then other creatures that you've got as well. You know, you've got some big creatures in red. You know, you could put your ancient copper dragon in here, for example, get insane amounts of treasure tokens, and yeah, basically you could get your commander out multiple times if you've well, actually I've just thought about that combo on the spot. If you've got Village Bellringer and you're able to kind of get some treasure tokens and you get multiple copies of ancient copper dragon out, I mean, that's going to be absolutely insane. Anyways, so with 1,000-Year Elixir, it's got 1 tap it and untap target creature. So basically this, every turn is going to allow you, as long as you've got that 1 mana, to untap your commander, and then you can make another token copy of something else. So some of the creatures that we've got coming up are absolutely insane. So you're going to want to be benefiting of that as much as you pretty much can. So on to the next, we've got Staff of Domination, 3 colorless artifact. It's got multiple different abilities here. You know, you can pay 1 to untap this, then you can pay 2, tap it to gain life, pay 3, tap it to untap target creature. That's the one that we care about here. With your commander again, we want to untap him. And 4, tap it, tap target creature. Always can be a beneficial thing if you want to see out a game as well. And 5, tap it, draw a card. So this one is almost an automatic include for me. I know it's quite expensive for 3 to tap it to untap your commander, but fundamentally, if you're cheating out a 7, 8, 9 mana creature, you know, if you've already got it on your battlefield, then you're going to be pretty much laughing. So yeah, basically this is a pretty good card in this deck as well. You've got Mage Right Stone, which is 2 colorless artifact. You pay 1 and you tap it, untap target creature that has an activated ability with tapping its cost. Perfect. I mean, for 2 colorless to get this down, and it works perfectly with your commander here. So, you know, I think this is an automatic include as well. These are the last of my cards to be able to repeat source your commander. But yeah, it's going to go pretty hard. So let's get into some of the meat and bones of the deck. So, Kikijuki, imagine having this with Kikijuki on your battlefield. It would go insane. So Kikijuki, you know, 5 mana in total, legendary creature, Goblin Shaman. We all know what Kikijuki does, but it's a 2/2, has haste. Tap it, put a creature token into play. This copy of target non-legendary creature token you control. That creature token has haste. Sacrifice it at the end of the turn. I mean, it's pretty insane because you could probably tap your commander to make a token of a copy of Kikijuki, put that into play. Tap it, make a token copy of your commander. You know, you could probably just keep going that way. I don't know what the benefit of that would be, but yeah, hence it would be pretty lethal though. I think you could probably get, you know, 100, 500, 1,000, 1,000,000 different tokens onto the battlefield there. Yeah, and they've all got haste. So they're only 1/1s, but they're flyers. Yeah, that could go pretty crazy as well, actually, in hindsight. The next one is Restoration Angel. So this is 3 colorless and a white creature angel, flash, flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So basically, you're flickering any one of your other creatures that aren't an angel. So basically, if you're creating a token of this, you know, you could do that multiple times for your commander, and then not only are you bringing in a token copy of a creature, but if you do that with this, you can actually just keep basically flickering one of your some of your other creatures, which have some insane payoffs when it comes to enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield. And yeah, I think you're going to double up on that basically, because then you know, if you create one, you know, if you've got a big creature that's got a huge enter the battlefield, copy that. You know, basically it's already come in, so you're getting another one of that. You know, it may have been last turn or the turn before, but basically it's a repeated source of being able to benefit from creatures that you already own. I guess that's the one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the call, is that you obviously do need to have a creature on the battlefield already, you know, besides your commander. I think it says besides your commander. Let's have a look. There's a copy of another target creature. Yeah, so besides your commander, and then basically you create a copy of that. So yeah, so I think you need to have some creatures down firstly, and then you'll be able to just go crazy with this deck. So the next one is Calming Guide. It's 3 colorless, white, summon spirit, so just a creature spirit. Flying, protection from black, and echo. During your next upkeep, after this permanent comes in under your control, pay its casting cost or sacrifice it. Doesn't really matter, because the bottom line is we're going to be sacrificing this anyways, so echo doesn't really matter. Has flying, you're going to be creating it with flying anyway, so none of that really matters. The black matters ever so slightly, protection, but it's a 2/2. When Karmic Guide comes into play, choose target creature card in your graveyard and put that creature into play. So basically, you're reanimating one of your creatures in your graveyard. We've got quite a hefty amount of creatures that are quite high mana cost in this deck. So you know, being able to reanimate basically whatever creature you've got in your graveyard is pretty insane, and you'd be able to do that every turn, right? So, or like I said before, if you can repeated trigger off your commander, if you could do that with all of those artifacts, and you have enough mana, you could basically do this a few times each turn and keep getting creatures back that have insane enter the battlefield triggers. So this comboing off with your commander is pretty insane, because if you have some creatures which have good enter the battlefield triggers, but also some insane leave the battlefield triggers, then basically this is going to be comboing off with your commander, bringing creatures in. They're going to get sacrificed. The next turn you can do that again. Yeah, I think basically your opponent's going to be pretty screwed, if I do say so myself. On to the next, Solemn Simulacrum. I mean, this is an absolute staple. 4 colorless artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, put that onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. When Simulacrum dies, you may draw a card. It's a 2/2, perfect really, because you're getting 2 payoffs from it. So not only are you being able to get some land advantage, get some lands down tapped, but you'll also be able to draw a card as well. I haven't put it in this deck, but you probably would want to look at getting something like Panharmonicon, or is it Panharmonicon? I think it is. That basically allows you to double up on the entry of the battlefield triggers. So sort of things like that are really, really beneficial in this deck, and some Solemn Simulacrum will definitely aid you in getting there. The other one could also be something like Gandalf the White, which also does a similar effect to Panharmonicon. So on to the next, you've got Recruiter of the Guard. I mean, this is a brilliant tutor. I mean, it's 2 colorless and a white, 1/1 human soldier. When it ETBs, you may search your library for a creature card with 2 or less and put it into your hand. I mean, it's brilliant, because you obviously do need to have a few bangers that are 2 or less. You might want to get something like Esper Sentinel in here, a few kind of cards that are absolute bangers for 2 or less, and stick them in the deck so that you can tutor for them. But basically, you've already got this one down. You create a token copy of it, you're getting 2 for the price of 1, and you'll be able to really, really kind of build out your battlefield with some great creatures that are going to give you some depth and give you a strong battlefield to play with. Flicker Wisp. So I really like this card. I don't know why. I think the artwork is creepy as hell. Really fits in with Duskmourn. So it's 1 colorless white. It's a 3 mana in total. It's a 3/1 creature elemental. It's flying. When Flicker Wisp comes into play, remove another target permanent from the game. So exile a target permanent from the game. Then return that card to its owner's control at the end of turn. So basically, exactly what it says in the name. You're basically flickering your creature here. Which is brilliant, really, because if you want to, basically, if you've got this down, you've already benefited from it, but you also have all of these creatures with ETBs. You can just, with your commander, tap it, create a token of it, and keep doing the ETB for your meanest trigger on your battlefield, right? So, yeah, all goes pretty crazy together with your commander. You'd probably want to protect your commander by giving it hexproof or giving it shroud or something along those lines, or indestructible, all of these different things, because it is going to get targeted as soon as you start comboing off with some of this stuff. So just one to bear in mind that I haven't put in this deck tech, but you probably want to get your your Whisper Silk cloak and stuff like that. So have a think about that one. Skyclave Apparition. It's 1 colorless white. It's a creature core spirit. That's a spirit. 2/2. When Skyclave Apparition enters the battlefield, exile to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. So it's a removal here, which is absolutely brilliant. But it also says that when it leaves the battlefield, the exile's card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is converted mana cost of the exile card. So pretty crazy. I mean, they are going to obviously get that, but it's a nice way of being able to remove it, attack out, so you can basically swing out. If there's something with death touch that's 4 or less, for example, you'll be able to swing out, get some damage through, and then at the end of the turn, when you have to sacrifice it at your end step, obviously it does come back into play. But it's also it doesn't actually, no, I'm wrong there. It doesn't come back into play. You're actually creating a token in its place for the opponent. So basically you're replacing it with just a 4/4 token. So it's a win-win all round. You're basically removing some of these insanely beneficial cards that are causing the battlefield a little bit of pain, and you're replacing it with just a basic token here. So yeah, really good, goes well with this deck, a bit of kind of removal as well. So on to the next classic, Perforos, God of the Forge, 3 colorless and a red. It's a legendary enchantment creature, god, indestructible. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. It's 6/5, so that's one to note, to be fair, because you have to have it in creature form in order to actually create a token copy of it. But you're probably going to get more than 5 reds out, so you're probably going to have devotion to more than 5, and then whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, this deals 2 damage to each opponent. So that's just insane, because you're going to be getting into the battlefield every single turn, right? Even if you don't have any creatures in your hand, as long as you've got your commander down and you've got a couple of creatures down on the battlefield, with those combos that I mentioned earlier, you might be able to trigger off 10 damage per turn. So that will go out of control very, very quick. It's just pretty cool artwork, isn't it, really? So on to the next, Goblin Bombardment. So again, this is a very similar one, where 1 and a red enchantment, you can sacrifice a creature. So once the creature that you've kind of put down to the battlefield has done its job, and before, say you're not swinging out with it, there's no point in swinging out, then you can sacrifice it and it will deal damage to a target creature or player. Or the other side of it is, you might have all of these creatures that have leave the battlefield triggers, and you want to benefit from that. So instead of having to, hope someone blocks or whatever, this gives you a sack outlet, which is quite, beneficial to yourself as well. So, lots of good things to like about Goblin Bombardment. All right, the next one is Martyr's Bond. It's 4 colorless and a white enchantment. Whenever Martyr's Bond or another non-land permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a permanent that shares a card type with it. This is going to be insane, because you're going to be able to combo off, like I mentioned earlier. Yes, this isn't a creature, but this benefits you in playing your commander deck so much, because with your commander, you're going to every single turn be able to create at least 1 creature. As long as you've got another creature to copy, then it will be sacrificed at the end of the turn. So and if you can combo off, like I mentioned before, you'll be able to get 3, 4, maybe even 5 kind of tokens that enter and then leave that same turn. So each opponent will have to sacrifice that many creatures, which is pretty insane. It's a great kind of payoff for what we've got in this deck. And then on to the next, this one of my faves, Adiana, Captain of the Guard, 3 colorless, red and a white, legendary creature, human knight, 4/4. Has melee. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn for each opponent you attack this combat. So that can go pretty nuts. I mean, if you're swinging out at 3 opponents, then it's going to get +3/+3, and other creatures you control have melee too. So if you're swinging out with a big board state, like I said earlier, where if you can basically continually untap your commander. So I don't know, Kikijuki was quite a good example, to be fair. If you're tapping it, and then you're creating a token and you've got enough mana, if you've got enough mana to be able to continually kind of tap it as well, so you would need to have some insane amount of mana going. Like I said, with Ancient Copper Dragon, for example, you could probably get that one off and get a few kind of 50, 60, 70 treasure tokens to continually kind of do it. You could build up a board state very, very quickly that's got an insane amount of tokens that have flying and have haste. And so if they've all got melee, then you're going to be able to basically boost those up by +3/+3. And I'm pretty sure you could win the game with that. So pretty insane. Itali Primal Storm. I mean, this one's insanely good. So it's 4 colorless, red, legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. It's a 6/6. When this attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land permanents exiled this way without paying their mana costs. insane. This is just disgusting. Imagine you've got that down. You can make 2, 3, 4 copies of it each turn if you're able to have the mana and you're able to untap your commander. Then yeah, you're going to be able to swing with about 4 or 5 of these, and they'll all be exiling the top card of their library, maybe 4 or 5 top cards of their library, and then you can basically play them without paying their mana cost. I mean, the benefit of that is just insane. And unless they remove it, you're going to be able to do that every turn. So yeah, this goes pretty crazy with the commander as well. Odo, Bandit, Warlord, 5 colorless and a red. When it's a human Barbarian 3/3. I mean, this artwork is pretty dope as well. There's something about it, right, with these older cards that just have, I don't know, character. I'd say character. This is the sort of thing that you'd see in like a, I don't know, like an awesome comic book from the like 90s or whatever, or the 80s, and is it's pretty dope, to be fair. All right, anyways, back to this. When Godo enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card and put it into play. If you do, shuffle your library. Whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control. After this, you get an additional combat phase. I mean, that's really what you're benefiting from here. I mean, we obviously will have some equipment. I haven't included any in this deck tech, but you're going to want to have stuff like Whisper Silk Cloak and some of these like equipments that are going to basically give you protection, give your commander some protection. So if this comes into play, you can search for that. You can equip it to your commander, make sure your commander's, pretty set. And then when this attacks for the first time, you're going to be able to untap it and get another combat phase. If you don't, so look at, if you bear with me this kind of mindset, right? So it attacks for the first time each turn, then you'll be able to untap it. After this phase, you get an additional one. If you then tap your commander, and I'm not sure if this is how it would work, let me know in the comment section. Comment section. This is my interpretation: is after you've done your first combat step, right? And you've attacked with it. If you then activate your commander to create a token copy of this, technically that would be attacking for the first time on the second combat step. So if you could then swing out, you would get a third combat step. I believe that's how that would work. Let me know in the comment section. Oh my god, I did it again. Comment section below. But yeah, I think this card with your commander would go insane. Anyways, on to the next Tectonic Giant. This is 2 colorless red creature, elemental giant. When it attacks or becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, choose one. It deals 3 damage to each opponent. Exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. I mean, this is pretty insane. I mean, if you're being able to copy this a couple of times as well, you could swing off, when you're swinging out, if you copy this once, you're dealing 6 total damage if you choose that top one both times. If you swing out with 3, that's 9 to each opponent. I mean, that could be game ending in itself. Pretty insane actually, and it's only 4 mana in total, so you can get this down, get your commander down, and then basically start wreaking havoc on that whole battlefield. It's going to be pretty crazy. Combustible Gearhulk, 4 colorless red artifact creature construct, 6/6. First strike. When Gearhulk, this card enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then this deals damage to that player equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Insane. If you create a copy of this each turn, you're going to basically give your opponent the opportunity to choose whether they would want you to draw 3 cards, or whether there's the possibility that you're going to flip over into your graveyard, I don't know, 15 total mana cost worth of cards and deal them 15 damage to the face. I'm pretty positive they're going to let you draw some cards. Pretty insane. And it's got first strike. So always a good one to have on a card as well. Hero of Bladehold. This one's 2 colorless, white. It's got Battle Cry. Whenever this creature attacks, each other creature attacking gets +1 until the end of turn, which is always good, especially when what we're going to be wanting to do is swing out quite a lot. It's a human knight as well with 3/4, and whenever this attacks, put 2/1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Yeah, it's all pretty insane. So you're pretty much going to be getting 2/1/1 humans, but they're all going to be boosted by that top Battlecry ability anyways. So if you're copying this, you're going to be able to get 4/1/1 humans, and you're going to be able to get them all boosted up by all of your creatures boosted up by +2/+0. So yeah, it would go nuts. So yeah, think about that. That's a pretty good combo, and the artwork again is pretty freaking awesome. I've only got a few cards left. Urelia, the war leader, 2 colorless, 2 red, and 2 white, so 6 mana in total. Legendary creature, angel, 3/4, flying, vigilance, haste. Oof, that's a combination. Whenever Urelia, the war leader, attacks, God, I couldn't get that out then. For the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Insane. Basically the same as what I mentioned before. If you bring this into play, it attacks, you activate your commander at instant speed, you create a copy of it. After the first combat phase, then that one's going to be attacking for the first time each turn, and then you can, if you can untap your commander, you could do that again. So basically you could keep giving yourself additional combat phases. That would be insane. Again, I need people to let me know in the comment section below if that's how this would work. My interpretation is yes. Anyways, that would be insane. But yeah, on to the next. And I think we're almost there. If not, I think we've got no, this is it. Combat Celebrant. We all know what this one is. 2 colorless and a red creature, human warrior, 4/1. If Combat Celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it when it attacks. When you do, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So, just to top it all off, this extra combat phase stuff can go crazy, and I think you've got to think about it as in these in conjunction with being able to create lots of tokens, being able to create lots of kind of free casting if you get stuff in that's, you know, being able to exile your opponents and cast those for free. It will go crazy, and this is only a handful of things that you could put in with this card to create a deck tag. I'm really excited to kind of delve into different ways to build this, because you could go really heavily in one avenue, you could go really heavily in another avenue as well. But yeah, let me know what you think. I really enjoy building this deck tech, really enjoying looking at these Duskmourn kind of spoilers and previews, because you never know what's coming with Duskmourn. I really enjoy the kind of dark gothic, yeah, I guess that's perfectly kind of covers it, dark and gothic kind of theme of it. Let me know what you'd like to see next. This is Universes Beyond. Please hit that sub button. It means the world to us, and we're only going to keep bringing fresh and exciting content for you all. This is Universes Beyond. Peace.